the bone fragments and the bullet fragments?
My lady, I wouldn't expect anything.
Why not?
The bullet is traveling to that direction, towards the back. Now, I can't expect the fragments to be to the opposite direction of the bullet. It's impossible.
If the hand was in the proximate, immediate position of the head wound, if the hand was there, what would you have expected?
If the hand was at the back, then I would expect that. But not if the hand was in
Like
front.
this?
I wouldn't expect
I
that.
show you, illustrate, I put my hand there, it goes through the finger. What would you expect? Nothing.
Unless if you're talking about blood, then you can expect the back spatter from blood, whereby blood coming from the wound being spattered towards the back of the hand, but not the bullet fragment or not the bone fragments. I disagree with that.
An entrance wound?
Entrance wound one?
There's an entrance and an exit on the head.
That's correct, man.
Yes. What would happen to the bones in the entrance wound?
What will happen to them?
What would happen to the bone fragments? Where would they go?
From the entrance wound?
Yes.
They'll go inside the wound, Malik.
Only inside, not outside?
Not outside, inside.
And the exit?
The exit will go outside at the back. Now, they will create what you call beveling. The beveling, if it's in here and outside, beveling will be inside the head, and then the exit, the beveling will be outside the head towards the back.
How far must the hand be from the head to cause any injury to the hand caused by fragments? How far must it be from that wound, the exit wound?
My lady, if the hand is in front of the head, there won't be any wound caused on the head by the...
Not in front of, at the wound, at the proximate position of the wound.
My lady, I don't understand the question.
If I put my hand in the proximate position of the wound,
yes,
where would the fragments hit the hand?
Which fragment? The bone fragment. There won't be fragment coming back to the wound.
There won't be?
There won't be. I've never seen that in my entire career, my lady.
Have you done tests to determine the comparison between the similarity of sounds caused by a cricket bat on this door, on a Meranti door, and the firearm?
No, my lady.
You must have heard the version that the door was hit with a cricket bat and that it was shot through.
I know, my lady, that the door was hit with a cricket bat.
You were not asked to do any test to see if one sound could resemble the other?
No, my lady, I don't specialize in sounds, and I won't be able to differentiate the sounds.
May I just ask for 5 minutes? There's one aspect that I want to clear with Mr. Oldridge. Just a 5-minute adjournment.
5 minutes.
Only 5 minutes.
We'll adjourn for 5 minutes. Yes, Mr.
Thank you for
Lee.
the indulgence, my lady. Captain. The two experts on behalf of the defence will give evidence, first of all, that the right arm was in close proximity to the door when the shots were being fired, which would account for the location of the secondary wounds on the right arm caused by the splinters. What do you say to that?
My lady, that will be of their version of the incident,
Yes.
but that I couldn't determine.
They will also say that on probabilities, and let me first preface this, that you cannot reliably determine the sequence of the shots, but on probabilities, when the hip shot, the shot to the hip was sustained, that the deceased was in a leaning position to explain the top part, the collar of abrasion. She was leaning forward to explain the collar of abrasion on the top part of the circular wound. You said in your evidence that can be, but you also have another explanation. It could be deflection or it could be a leaning. That's how I understood your evidence. Is that correct?
My lady, to my version, she was in a standing position, but I don't exclude the possibility of maybe leaning.
Of course, if the wounds at the back, the two wounds, if those were caused by falling onto the magazine rack and you haven't done the test, then your theory of the ricochet bullet and the position is wrong, if that is so.
My lady, I still tend to disagree with the
Yes.
magazine records in that room.
I understand. All I say is, of course, if it can be proven by the defense witnesses by means of tests done that you have not done, that those two wounds were caused by falling onto the magazine rack, the handle on top, then of course your theory on the sequence of shots are wrong and the body position. Because then it cannot be, it's not a ricochet against her when she was still up on a semi-seated position.
My lady, I still stick to my theory,
Yes.
to my version.
I understand that. And they will also say that you don't need one shot and then 3 shots to cause the injuries, that it is equally consistent with 4 shots on a double tap that would
My lady, I
account for
disagree.
every injury sustained.
I disagree with
Yes.
that, my lady. You will never get all 4 shots with a tap, whereby the shots are on different parts of the bodies.
You said in your statement that you could not determine which was the third and which was the fourth shot.
That's correct, my lady,
Yeah.
but in a seated position, on the same position.
Why? When do you say, and on what basis, that you say that the second shot missed and not the first or the fourth?
My lady, I looked at, I can't say it's the first shot, because if you look at my version, it missed her, hit the wall, and came back and hit her at the back. By then, she was seated on the.
Of
So
course,
if it's the first shot, then what would have happened? Does it mean it missed her and then she stand up?
and of course, if those wounds were caused by the magazine rack, then your theory would not be correct.
My lady, I'm still saying I'm
Yes.
sticking to my theory. I won't change my theory. That's how
Yes.
I could determine the shots.
I have no further questions. Thank you, my lady.
Thank you. Yes, Mr. Nel?
As a court pleases. Captain, the trajectory and the amount of shots, that's a constant.
That's correct, my lady.
You've explained that the position of the deceased, that can change.
The position of the deceased can change, my lady.
But what we have is we have A, B, C, and D.
That's correct, my lady.
A, B, C, and D caused the injury.
That's correct, my lady.
Now, if the deceased was leaning forward, let's take, as far as the hip wound is concerned, she's leaning forward. Where is she facing?
She must be facing the door, my lady.
Then, bullet O B, if she's leaning, standing, doing whatever she wants to. That shot did not hit her on the hip.
My lady, bullet hole mark B is too high for the hip.
Bullet hole C, that's too high for the hip as well.
Bullet hole C is still too high for the hip.
Even D is too high for the hip.
With bullet hole D, my lady, there can be doubt on that, but we must look at the position, how she was, because it's too close to the wall. Then she must be leaning towards the wall on that side.
Because if you open the door,
If you open the door, it's too close to the wall.
because let us just take D. If you open that door, to cause D, D must have been against the wall.
D must have been towards against the wall, my lady.
So, and on the accused version, leaning forward. But then we must find the wound that would have hit her in the shoulder, which doesn't make sense. Do you agree? On the defense version.
That's correct, my lady. I agree on that.
Good. But let us just go on. Let us look at photograph 54. Do you have it?
I have it, my lady.
You made it.
What page is that?
That is page
43.
Yes, ma'am. You've explained the injury to the forearm that one can see on this photograph.
That's correct, my lady.
So one can see on this photograph, and we don't have it on the screen, but on the forearm, red dots. Similar to that around the wound on the arm. Am I right? Can you see that?
That's correct, my lady. I can see that.
And your evidence is that the cause of those were the same.
That's correct, my lady. It's still the splinters from the door, my lady.
Then just have a look at slide 122 in album 1. I'm going to ask Mr. Moller to zoom into the top of that toilet basin. Right on top. There. Zoom in, zoom in, zoom in. Go more to the left. Zoom in. What's on top of that? Can you see something on top? You see anything there? On top, next to the mechanism? The flush mechanism?
Meaning
There.
this, my lady.
What are those marks there?
My lady, I'm not sure, but that could be the wooden splints from the door also, my lady.
Yes. The other aspect, what we have, if we can go back to the captain's photographs, please. What we have is your explanation that where the tripod was, you could explain the height of the accused without his prosthesis firing into the door.
That's correct, my lady.
Now, every distance that you go back, that would have been higher because there's a 5 to 6 degree upwards angle from the door.
My lady, the more you move backward, the height increases a little bit. And the more you move forward, the height decreases a little bit.
Yes. Interesting aspect. Mr. Roo told you about Dr. Stipp's explanation of the shots. Let me give you another one. Michelle Berger, the first witness, said she heard the following: a shot, a pause, shot, shot, shot. Does that make sense?
My lady, that is possible. To have one shot and then the break and then the other 3 shots, it's possible, my lady.
Thank you, Maharaj. I have nothing further.
Let me just ask one question, if I may be allowed, on the hip that was raised in re-examination. Just one. Captain Mangena, why would the height of the wound change, my hip position change, when I lean forward? Why would it go lower or higher? The hip. I'm not talking about the upper body. When I lean forward with my upper body, why would the height of my hip position change?
My lady, I have never said the height of the wound changes.
You were asked about the hip position in relation to the shots.
In relation to the shot, I'm looking at the height of the bullet hole mark B and bullet hole mark C.
Yes.
They are higher than bullet hole mark A.
But it would be exactly the same whether you're leaning forward or not.
It will not be the height on the hip will be the same, but on those bullet holes, it's not the same, my lady.
I understand, but the hip, the height of the hip wound would be the same whether you bend your upper body or not, whether you lean forward with the upper body or not. Why
That's
would
why
that change?
That's why I said, my lady, I've never said the height of the hip changes.
My lady, may I just put one fact that I've omitted to put, and I was reminded. You know that a spent projectile was found by the Defense Ballistics in the toilet and 2 fragments in the magazine rack, subsequent to the investigation by the police. Are you aware of that?
My lady, I'm aware of that.
Thank you, my lady.
Thank you.
I have nothing further.
Captain, thank you very much for your assistance. You may be excused.
Thank you, my lady.
Yes, the court, my lady, call as the next witness, Colonel van der Nest. My lady, before this witness is sworn in,
The bone fragments and the bullet fragments.
My lady, I wouldn't expect anything.
Why not?
The bullet is traveling to that direction, towards the back. Now, I can't expect the fragments to be to the opposite direction of the bullet. It's impossible.
If the hand was in the proximate, immediate position of the head wound, if the hand was there, what would you have expected?
If the hand was at the back, then I would expect that. But not if the hand was in
Like
the front.
this?
I wouldn't expect
I
that.
show you, I illustrate, I put my hand there, it goes through the finger. What would you expect? Nothing.
Unless if you're talking about blood, then you can expect the back splatter from blood, whereby blood coming from the wound being splattered towards the back of the hand, but not the bullet fragment or not the bone fragments. I disagree with that.
An entrance wound,
Entrance wound one?
there's an entrance and an exit on the head.
That's correct, ma'am.
Yes, what would happen to the bones in the entrance wound?
What will happen today? I've never seen that in my entire career, my lady.
Have you done tests to determine the comparison between the similarity of sounds caused by a cricket bat on this door, on a Maranti door, and the firearm?
No, my lady.
He must have heard the version that the door was hit with a cricket bat and that it was shot through.
I know, my lady, that the door was hit with a cricket bat.
You were not asked to do any test to see if one sound could resemble the other.
No, my lady, I don't specialize in sounds, and I won't be able to differentiate the sounds.
May I just ask for 5 minutes? There's one aspect that I want to clear with Mr. Aldridge. Just a 5-minute adjournment.
5 minutes.
Only 5 minutes.
We'll adjourn for 5 minutes.
What would happen to the bone fragments? Where would they go?
From the entrance wound?
Yes.
They'll go inside the wound, my lady.
Only inside, not outside?
Not outside, inside.
And the exit?
The exit will go outside at the back. Now, they will create what you call beveling. The beveling, if it's in here and outside, beveling will be inside the head, and then the exit, the beveling will be outside the head towards the back.
How far must the hand be from the head to cause any injury to the hand caused by fragments? How far must it be from that wound, the exit wound?
My lady, if the hand is in front of the head, there won't be any wound caused on the head by the...
Not in front of, at the wound, at the proximate position of the wound.
My lady, I don't understand the question.
If I put my hand in a proximate position of the wound,
yes,
where would the fragments hit the hand?
Which fragment? The bone fragment. There won't be fragment coming back to the wound.
There won't be?
There won't be.